Hello, hello. Welcome into another episode of IMHO. I'm Kelcey. That is Whitaker in the bright white this morning. The regular season is done. Complete.
Dunzo.
It's over. We're moving into the play-in, the playoffs, postseason. I'm excited. So let's take a little rewind button.
Yep.
Be kind, rewind. What is that from?
The movie Be Kind, Rewind?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about just kind of like the best team this year, and I don't want you to be like, oh, this team had the best record. No. Like who?
The best story.
Yeah.
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
All right. To me, the best story this year has got to be the Utah Jazz.
Whoa! Why?
Finished with the #1 seed in the West, 32 games over 500. And the thing that I love about the story of the Jazz is that it's the same players they've had the last couple of years. I mean, Mike Conley is probably the newest addition to that, and that was 2 years ago. They basically improved from within, and they figured out how to get better as a team, as a group. They came together. They didn't blow it up like you see a lot of teams do and try and reboot the thing and start over from scratch and all that. I mean, they have sort of a new philosophy. They're shooting threes at a crazy rate, but for the most part, it's the same team they've always had. They just kind of figured out a new way to play. And I think for a lot of teams around the NBA, it proves you don't have to start over from scratch. You don't have to tear the thing down. You can have the same players, same coaching staff, and just figure out ways to get better. I think it's a pretty cool story. Small market team becomes the #1 seed. Actually, I don't know if they're small market. Salt Lake City is a big city. They had the Olympics there. But I would say a team that's kind of not really known in that upper tier of teams.
Especially on the West.
Has become that. And it's kind of cool story to me. Who did you have as your
Okay, when you
this
first
season?
said Utah, I was like, Lang, you're insane. But
I made a good case for it, right?
Yeah, your reasoning is great. I'm going with the New York Knicks.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going with them because I felt like they have been a very team for a very long time. They haven't made the playoffs, since 2013.
Yeah.
Last year they were again, and then this year all of a sudden they clinched the #4 spot. They're playing well. I think they were projected to win like 15 to 20 games this season. They ended with a record of 41-31. So
yeah.
I like the storyline just in terms of kind of being surprised and kind of the opposite of you. They are this big market team that people expect, and they have this legacy and this like oomph to them, and then it just hasn't been there. And then finally this year they were like, okay, we're back, y'all. We're here.
I also, the other team I thought a lot about was Phoenix.
That's my second team.
And the reason I like the Phoenix story is because it's sort of the opposite of the Jazz one. I mean, they hit a big button to reboot and brought in Chris Paul and made a big trade, and they kind of messed with the team chemistry, The Jazz kept the same group of players and were like, we're going to keep the chemistry and grow from it. The Suns took a chance and traded for Chris Paul and became a better team. And I think that kind of, I guess, makes the argument that you can make that big trade and become a better team like that. So, and then Brooklyn too, to me, is the other one we should talk about. They finished the best record, next best record in the Eastern Conference behind the Sixers, but there were so many big names and egos and trades, and everybody's like, oh, it's never going to work. A first-year coach, it's not going to work. It's going to be a mess. And they've persevered, and they've become a really good team. And I feel like they kind of get overlooked from that standpoint.
I don't know, overlooked, because I guess the Sixers and the Bucks, but like the Nets, people love the Nets this year. They have everyone on it. If you're a basketball fan, they have 3 superstars on their team. But I'm going to go back to the Suns real quick because that was my second, so I'm going to agree with you. And I like this story because of the 8-0 bubble run last year where they didn't make the playoffs. It was like this heartbreaker. Like, I'm so sorry, you guys. You couldn't have done any better, but you still didn't make it.
Yeah.
And then still with these young guys like Bridges, Booker, Ayton, I just love them up beside CP3. So I'm going to agree with you on that one. The Brooklyn one will be the one where I draw the line, and I'm not going to agree with you because they're supposed to be good. They've got 3 superstars on their team. It's kind of annoying.
They're supposed to be good, but there was also such high risk there.
That's a good point.
They did this before. Brooklyn did this before, whatever it was, 10 years ago when they traded for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Joe Johnson. They traded all their draft picks, and it was a disaster. And this time it's actually worked. And I think a lot of time when it didn't work a decade ago, and everybody's like, oh, well, this isn't gonna. They're never gonna have to get all the draft picks back and do it again. And then they went all in again, and everybody's like, oh no, and it's actually worked.
But it worked in Miami.
True. But that was the players involved were LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. So it's a little bit different than, trading for James Harden, who's fighting with his team and all these other things. But the way it's worked out has been awesome for them. And they also have a first-year head coach. To me, like, that kind of gets overlooked. A guy who's never coached in the NBA before.
Imagine managing that.
Work. I know. And he's made it work. Steve Nash has done great.
Shout out Canada.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's been our opinion this year. We're excited to move into playoffs next week, so we'll be back with more. Catch more on grindcitymedia.com.